Hi, first grade.
Hello, first grade,
This is Mrs. Kunda,
and Mr. DeStefano.
and we are here with a brand new listen and learn lesson for you today. We are going to be visiting the tropical rainforest. How exciting!
Yeah, Mrs. Kanda, I love learning about the rainforest, and I can't wait to find out about the different animals and plants that live there and how they adapt to their environment.
Same. I cannot wait. We miss you so much, first grade.
Yes, we do. We hope everything's going well for you, and we're so glad you're joining us on this lesson. And we miss seeing you sitting on the carpet, listening to us, and raising your hands to answer all those questions.
They always
When
have such wonderful answers to our questions, too, Mr. Stefano.
they do.
I miss that and the wonderful questions that they would ask.
Yeah, I miss the questions that they add because sometimes they come up with questions we don't even think of.
They really do. Wow, first grade. This is tough doing this without you. We miss you so much.
Okay, and again, this unit is nonfiction. Remember, the word fiction means fake or not real. So nonfiction means it's not fake, it is real. So nonfiction texts are stories that teach, inform, and explain real things. Remember, many times, like on the picture you see on the left, they have real photographs. They don't always, though. If you look on the picture on the right, those look like some illustrations from nonfiction texts that would have drawings. Nonfiction texts also often have diagrams. Um, they often have diagrams or graphic organizers to help you understand what you're reading.
All right. So we are now going to introduce some brand new vocabulary. So really make sure you're listening because these are some brand new words you'll be hearing throughout today's reading.
Okay, and our first word is canopy. The canopy is the top layer of the forest formed by the branches and leaves at the tops of the trees. So the canopy of the forest shades the plants and animals below. So when you look at the picture of the canopy, notice how all the leaves from the trees, they look like they're touching each other. I like to pretend that I'm standing underneath the canopy, like down by the forest floor. And if I look up, it almost looks like I'm covered by the inside of an umbrella. So if you take an umbrella outside and you open it up and you look up, it kind of looks kind of like what it would be like if you were standing under the canopy of the rainforest.
All right, and our next word is the word humid. So you might actually hear this word if you're watching the weather. They do say this a lot in the summertime. So if something is humid, it's wet and damp. It contains a high amount of water or water vapor. So that's like the air around you is wet and damp. If you take a look at the sentence below, it says the air is often sticky and humid on a hot summer day.
Okay, and our next word is colonies. Colonies are groups of the same kinds of animals or plants living and growing together. So if you look at the illustration, there's an ant colony. Those are ants that all live together. Our sentence says there were several ant colonies in his backyard. So ant colony is a group of ants that all live together.
And our next word is the word dense. So dense is just another word for the word thick. So the sentence is, the rainforest is very dense because of the many plants that grow and live close together there. So for example, just like Mr. Stefano was talking about with that canopy, you would see if you were to look up, it would be very dense leaves above you. It would be very difficult to see the light if you're on the rainforest floor because the leaves above you, it's just so dense, so thick.
And our last word is patterns, which is a really great math word. Patterns are repeated shapes or designs. So if you look at the illustration of the checkerboard there, you can see the pattern. There's a pattern. It's a red cube, black cube, red cube, black cube, red cube, black cube, and on and on and on. So it's a pattern. It repeats. It continues over and over again.
All right, and as always, we do have a journal response to go with today's lesson. So as we're reading, we really want you to listen in on the plants. Today's lesson is really going to zero in on the plants that you find in the rainforest. So today's question is asking you, what is one way that plants adapt to life in the rainforest? So I really want you to think about just all the plants and think about an adaptation that the plants have in the rainforest that helps them to survive. And we gave you the sentence starter of one way is. All right. And I actually want you to take a look at this picture. Down at the bottom, you're going to see a big group of yellow. So really focus in on that. So for our next read aloud, it's going to be about a different kind of forest. So last time we learned about the deciduous forest. Today we're going to learn about a different type. This is located near the equator where it stays warm and wet all year long. This type of forest is called the tropical rainforest. The particular rainforest that Rattenborough will visit today is called the Amazon rainforest. So remember, Amazon is the name of a rainforest, not just the place you can order things from and have them delivered to your house. I know there's a company that's called Amazon, but this is actually a forest where animals live and plants. And it's located on the continent of South America. And actually, the rainforest we're going to visit today is so big that it is actually 1.4 billion acres. That's a lot of land that this rainforest covers. In fact, the Amazon rainforest covers 9 countries in South America. Most of it is in Brazil.
Okay, hello there. Rattenborough reporting from a fascinating habitat, a habitat that has the greatest variety of plants and animals of any habitat on Earth. Welcome to the tropical rainforest. Tropical places are warm and wet. So do you think there'd be winter in the tropical rainforest? No, it says it's warm and wet. A rainforest is a thick forest of plants that stay green year-round. So it doesn't sound like there's 4 seasons. Plants stay green all year. So a tropical rainforest is a warm, wet, thick forest of plants that stay green year-round. There are tropical rainforests in many places around the world close to the equator. But the one we are visiting is called the Amazon rainforest. It is in South America and is the largest tropical rainforest on Earth. The Amazon rainforest is so dense or thick that a rat like me could easily get lost. It is hot and very humid. Remember, humid means the air has like water in it. The temperature is always very warm and it rains heavily all year long. My fur is feeling very wet and sticky, and it's a good thing that I brought my umbrella. There are between 8 and 240 inches of rainfall here every year. That makes this one of the wettest places you can find on land. So we find out that it rains a lot in the rainforest, probably how it got its name, the rainforest, because it rains so much. So we learned that it's warm and it's wet and it's humid.
All right. So temperate deciduous forest, which we learned about in our last reading, they have broadleaf trees that lose all of their leaves in the fall. That means that I'm thinking of, like how our leaves turn orange and red and all those pretty colors in the fall and they all fall out. That's what that means. So our trees lose their leaves. But in the rainforest, that's not what happens. The Amazon rainforest has broadleaf trees, but the main difference is that most of the trees here stay green all year long. The evergreen trees in this tropical rainforest replace their leaves gradually through the year as the leaves age and fall, so the trees always look green and never have bare branches like the trees do in a temperate deciduous forest. That means so they wouldn't have a fall down in the rainforest. Yes, the trees do die, or the leaves do die off and will fall to the ground, but not the whole tree, so you wouldn't even notice. Because the climate here is the same all year round, plants do not need to slow down for cold winter weather. And the animals that live here always have a good supply of food all year round.
So it sounds like they don't have to store things like we read about.
No, they wouldn't have to.
Deciduous forests. So here's the canopy. Take a look around. The trees in the rainforest are so tall that they grow as tall as 13-story buildings. And some grow, so 13-story buildings, that means a building with 13 floors. So our school, H.W. Smith, has 3 floors. There's the basement, the first floor, and the second floor. Imagine if we had 13 floors. And that's about, so if the tree was growing outside, that's how tall it would be.
My goodness, that's a very tall tree.
Yeah, much taller than our school.
Yes.
Some grow much taller than that. I'm standing in a tree right now, and as you can see, the trees grow so thickly and so close together here that from above you can see only a canopy of thick green leaves. You can't see the forest floor at all. So notice how thick and how dense it is.
Yeah.
You can't see the floor, you just see the leaves.
Trees. You just see tons of leaves.
Because the sun's light cannot get through this canopy of leaves, everything under them is really dark. I brought a flashlight to help me see down there.
All right. So the plants in the Amazon rainforest have adapted to this climate in many ways. So really listen here, boys and girls, to remember our journal question. Because it is so dark in the rainforest underneath the canopy, most plants have large leaves so that they can catch as much light as possible. Many of the plants have waxy leaves with ends that are tapered to help the water drip right off of them. Kind of like running water off of an umbrella. All right, so if you see, that's what they mean by tapered. Okay, you see that plant leaf?
And so those are really good adaptations there. So their leaves are really large, so because it's hard to get sunlight, the closer to the ground you are in the rainforest. So those leaves are so large so they can absorb the sunlight. Remember, we learned last time that the leaves use light to make food for the plant, so they need that light.
They have those big, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Mrs. Kanda.
They have those big leaves to try and catch as much sun as they possibly can.
Right, and then their leaves are also waxy, which lets some of the extra water drip off them too. So, because it rains so much, they would get more water than they need to survive. So that's an adaptation. It lets that extra water kind of go off it. Like when we wear raincoats and things and the rain kind of drips off our raincoat, same idea.
It's pretty smart because the Amazon is so rainy. The plants must get, so much water that it's almost too much. I don't know about you, but if anyone's ever had a garden and you overwater your plants, that's not good for them. They can't survive in too much water. So it's a really good adaptation that they have, those leaves to really push off that extra water.
Great point, Mrs. Kanda. Now let's look at the vines in the rainforest. Many types of vines grow in the rainforest. Vines are climbing plants that grow on trees or wind themselves around tree trunks. Many animals use the vines growing among the trees almost like sidewalks and ladders to cross from one tree to another. The rainforest floor is a very shady place, which means it is a good habitat for mosses and fungi that don't need much sunlight. If you can believe it, there are even some plants that don't need any light at all to grow. They grow on the forest floor and get their energy from the rotting leaves instead of the sunlight. So we learn another way they adapt is on the forest floor, the plants that don't need as much light or no light, that's a good place for them to grow.
Wow, what a great adaptation. All right, and this is the kapok tree. I am way high up in a particular tree, a particular type of tree found in the Amazon rainforest, called the kapok tree. It's so high up that you won't be able to see me. The kapok tree is one of the tallest trees around. The kapok has a very long trunk, and its branches and leaves form a canopy over the trees and animals below, making it a good shelter for animals like birds, snakes, and monkeys. Wow, those sound like really interesting animals. And next time we are going to be reading about the animals of the rainforest. So this time we focused in on the plants you would find in the rainforest, but next time we will focus in on the animals you'll find in the rainforest.
And I hope all of our friends listening have an idea for their journal entry about a way that plants adapt to living in the rainforest.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem, Mrs. Kondo.
It's so hard to hear over the, just so you know, boys and girls, it is hard to hear each other over the computer, so we apologize. But
Definitely.
our first graders are wonderful listeners, so I really can't wait to hear their answers to that question. We kind of gave you a little bit of a brain stretch question today, and we really can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, and don't forget to send us a photo of your work. So what do you remember from today's lesson? So now we're going to ask some questions. So I'm going to ask the first question to Mrs. Kunda. Mrs. Kunda, what is a tropical rainforest?
Well, a tropical rainforest is a forest that stays warm, wet, and green at all times, and it has many different types of plants and animals. Mr. Stefano, why is it so dark on the ground or the floor of the tropical rainforest?
Oh, because inside the rainforest, there's a canopy. That's where it looks like all the um, leaves from all the trees are kind of touching each other, and it's hard for the light to get through. So because the light can't get through because there are so many leaves and branches from the trees up top, that's why it's very dark on the floor of the tropical rainforest. Mrs. Kunda, how have the plants adapted to live in the tropical rainforest? And before you answer that, Mrs. Kunda, our friends listening at home, they might get some ideas for their journal writing here.
So turn those listening ears on. All right, so Mr. Stefano, these plants, they reach for the sunlight or need little, they either reach for the sunlight or they need very little sunlight. They have large leaves to collect sunlight. They have waxy leaves to allow for a runoff of water. And the trees have very large roots. All right, boys and girls, we are going to stop right there. We really want you to stop and think about your journal question for today. Remember, we want to know one adaptation that the plants in the rainforest have in order to survive. So name one way that the plants have adapted to living in the rainforest. We cannot wait to hear your answers, and we miss you so much.
Okay, see you next time. Thank you for listening. We miss you.
Bye, first grade.
Bye, first grade.